Hmm. No cat today. I tried. Welcome back. So, hey, Mr. Greg, Mr. Guy that's talking all week long about living your latter days will be better than your former days. Can you give us any practical advice instead of inane homilies and banal, trite uh, nothingness? Can you give us a practical idea on how to make our latter days better? Well, I'm going to do my very best, and I think as I've examined myself, and I would ask what's in the way of me ever living my best life now and having it always evolve into something greater. In other words, fulfilling latter days being greater than former days. I think for me, and we all have to find this for ourselves, but for me, it's fear. And I don't think I'm alone in this. And I think fear is the great of all the negative mind states that would close us down and get us to forget who we are and to live less than our God given best. I think it's fear. And this has been identified by all humans over time. And even the great yogis of antiquity, the fifth of the five great afflictions that would attack and assail human consciousness for all time, they identified the fifth and final and cumulative problem as being affliction, as being abhinavesa, fear. Fear of what? Fear of everything. Fear of, uh, you name it. What wakes you up in the middle of the night that you're afraid of? Fear of uh, losing your health, your friends, your circumstances, your position. Fear of losing your life. Fear that there is no loving, overarching, interpenetrating, underlying, loving, present force in this universe that supports and undergirds us and loves us at all times. In other words, good old fashioned fear. And it wants to strike us in every way that it can. It could be evil's greatest tool to use upon us. So, what are we going to do about fear? Well, I think we have to realize that fear, at least for me, fear is always a sense, a mental condition, an emotional feeling that the my something bad is going to happen. I mean, if you're just to boil it down, distill it, it's like something wonderful, something good is not going to happen, something crappy, something shitty is going to happen, something fearful, degrading is going to happen. And it ends up being a terribly bad habit of consciousness, but I think it's embedded so deep into my brain and so many humans' brain. I mean, it's operating at such a deep core level of our brain. And how in the world are we going to get at that deepest core level of our brain where there's a fundamental sense that not the best is going to happen, but that the worst not only is happening, but it's only going to continue. It's such a deep corruption of our consciousness. How do we get it out? Well, in the recovery movement, it actually deals with fear as one of the great afflictions. And there's one great prayer, and it says, "God, please take my fear." Now, that's as simple as it can be said. And do we really need to complicate it any more than that? Can we really just ask our source, the ground of being, presence itself, infinite consciousness, the thing that from which and from where we spring, to take and to relieve our fear? Damn straight we can. Who else are we going to ask? Our accountant? Uh, our dentist? Our Who else is going to heal that deep fundamental fear? But then it says, take our fear and demonstrate what we can do. So I know for me, and you can ask yourself this, but for me, when fear really strikes and is going to impugn or assail my well being moving forward, then I got to get into action. Fear causes paralysis. And in the recovery movement, there's a whole chapter called Into Action. And this simply means overcoming the paralysis, the freezing, fight or flight, but there's also freeze where Fear just causes paralysis, and we stop doing anything, and we just wait for the thing to get us. And when we stop moving, then fear will take paralysis will end our well-being. So into action, what does that mean? Do your errands, clean your room, wash your clothes, do the next right thing. And it doesn't have to be the perfect or the optimal thing, but into action. Be into action. And that's the only thing that ever gets me out of that kind of fear. And then when we're into action, doing the next right thing, we're absolutely guaranteed that our latter days will be greater than our former days. It's only fear, it's only paralysis, it's only false evidence appearing real, fear, that could ever prevent us from having our latter days being greater than our former days. So you asked, Greg, you got any practical ideas on how our latter days can be better? That's the best I can come up with for myself. What do you got? Anyway, have a great day, be into action, keep moving, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.